Yes, hello and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while and we're back with a different video. It's not something that we've done before and we might do a bit more of this in the future if you like this type of content. But before we get into my predictions for the Premier League 2021-22 season, which I'm very excited for, I hope you are too, make sure you do hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and leave any comments or suggestions or whatever you'd like to see in the future. So like I just said, I haven't done one of these videos before, so bear with me. And as the thumbnail and title ensues, it is straightforward Premier League prediction and where I think the teams are going to finish with a few of the other awards being handed out. So we're going to start with those awards. And first we're starting with top goal scorer. As I'm recording this, it has just been announced that Romelu Lukaku has made his return to Chelsea. So that is my choice for top scorer. He's crafted his ability whilst over at Inter. He had a stopping time at Man United. He was still scoring goals, but his time at Inter and even at Belgium has been unbelievable, and I think he's going to come back to Chelsea with a bang. Moving swiftly on to top assist. Now this one is more of a hopeful one and kind of out there one. I don't think there's going to be many people out there that this player may get the most assists because of the team he's in potentially and the position that he might play, but I'm going for Jadon Sancho as my top assister of the Premier League season. I know we got Bruno Fernandes and we got KDB in the season, but I don't know. I think it's more hopeful thinking more than actual knowledgeable thinking, if that makes any sense. But Sancho could get up there for the assists if we got Cavani and Rashford playing, even Martial. If Martial is on top of his game consistently throughout the season, he could prove very vital in our season. Next, we have best player, so player of the year for the Premier League. I'm going for Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, I think it just speaks for itself, really. I don't really need to explain myself. He's one of the best players in the world. Possibly the best player in the Premier League. I'm not sure if he's fit for the first few games of the season, but he's one of those players, if he misses those first few games of the season, he's going to be catching up, and he doesn't need those first few games to get into the rhythm of it. Now, we got two other ones here. They're not awards, but just ones that I thought I'd include into the whole dynamic of this whole prediction. We're going for flop player and shock player. For my flop, I don't know, there's something about it. I'm going to go for Konate. I'm only saying this because I haven't seen a lot of him, and the only games that I saw were when Man United played Leipzig and Rashford just kind of tore him apart. So that's what I'm going off. If you watch the Bundesliga and watch him play week in, week out, or whatever, and you think otherwise, let me know down in the comments, because what I've seen of him hasn't been great, but I haven't seen a lot of him. But I reckon he's going to be a flop because all the Liverpool fans are raving about him and thinking he's one of the best signings in the league. He might well be. I'm happy to be proven wrong. If there's plain stone cold evidence in front of me and I'm proven wrong, I'll admit it, and I'm happy to admit it. Now we're going for shock player. Now, I like Leicester's signings. Going a bit out there again, I'm going for Patson Daka to be a shock player and have a great season in the Premier League. I'm thinking he could be a good signing. Let me know what you think about that one. But now, moving on to the main show, the table. Starting off with 20th, but it's a team that whenever I watch them play, they're not very, I don't know, they're just not enthusiastic. They're kind of just there all the time. And I think they made a few signings and tried to strengthen the squad, but they've got a lot of players that have left the club, especially Ben White, who's probably one of their better players. For me, I think their time in the Premier League is done. 19th position, this may not shock you at all, but we're going for Norwich. They go up, they come down. Pretty self-explanatory. They don't really seem to strengthen the squad when they come up, and when they go down and come back up. You know what I mean? They're just one of those teams. They're happy just to ride the wave, get a bit of money when they come back up from the Championship, and go from there, really. However, I do think the signing of Billy Gilmour is a class signing. For Billy Gilmour himself and Norwich, I think he's the type of player that would fit into that squad very well because he would stand out and bring some more attacking chances and get the team to play. But at this moment, this is where I think they're going to finish. In the final relegation spot, we do have Southampton. Again, Southampton, they don't seem to strengthen a lot. They've got loads of players going out, but they don't have a lot of players coming in. Although I think Theo Walcott joining Southampton again could give them a bit of experience. He could be someone that guides the younger players into how to attack. It could be what Southampton are after. And I've also seen they've signed Adam Armstrong as well, which he's a good player on Football Manager and career mode in that. But again, I haven't seen him play. I don't watch a lot of football outside the Prem, like, if I'm being honest. But Danny Ings leaving, that is a huge blow. Like that's where primarily most of their goals will come in from. I think him leaving is going to be very fatal for Southampton. Moving on to 17th and just narrowly escaping relegation, we are going for Watford. Watford, they seem to strengthen a lot. They brought in a lot of players. They don't seem to have lost any of their big players, really. The free signing from Joshua King, that's a class signing because Deeney's moving on a bit. They need someone a bit younger to replace him for when he does retire, although I don't know how long that's going to be. So like I said, I think they're going to narrowly escape relegation, but they're not going to do anything special. They're just going to be there and just kind of be comfortable, but just there. Now in 16th, another team that always seem to narrowly avoid relegation. Apart from that one season where they nearly pushed on into the Europa League, Burnley, they're going to finish 16th. More to be said about them, really. They're just kind of always there. They're escaping relegation. They're not pushing on to doing much, and they're just happy where they are, really. They have a period in the Premier League season where they do absolutely awful, and then they have one where they do quite well and get results out of the big teams, even if it's a simple draw. But those points add up, and then that's how they escape relegation. Nothing special, but they do the job. Now 15th, one that I was kind of umming and ahhing about, maybe that I should have put them a bit lower, Newcastle. Again, nothing coming in. See, they brought in Callum Wilson last season. He didn't have a great season, but he could get him some few vital goals, you know. He can make sure they escape relegation. Joe Willock potentially coming in as well. As of this moment, he hasn't signed for them, but Joe Willock coming in, again, he could be another great signing for them. I don't see Steve Bruce as one of those managers that managed to lift up teams. He might be able to get them away from relegation, but apart from that, he's not going to take them much further. Now, a team that might shock you with how high they are, because it's their first season in the Premier League, but Brentford. They've got in quite a few players, and I think they're a team that can maybe do like a Sheffield and have a great first season. Maybe next season they might not do so well, but because no one really plays them and they don't know how they play or what their tactics are and that, I feel like they could shock the Premier League a bit and finish 14th. Especially if Ivan Toney's firing on all cylinders. I know it's a massive jump from Championship to Prem, but if he does manage to adapt quickly and get into goal scoring form, this could be a massive help for Brentford. Now in 13th, we have Wolves. The reason for Wolves being so low for me is purely because of the departure of Nuno. I think he had a great squad together and he got them all kind of working together because he knew how they worked and how they all clicked. But having a new manager come in, I know it was quite early. They kind of knew Nuno was going anyway, but the pressure of the Premier League, completely different to pre-season and training and that. And maybe in those first few games, they're not going to click as well. Now in 12th is a team that had a great first season back in the Prem last year, was Leeds. Now this is a team that I think everyone loves watching, maybe for the better or for the worse. They're going to concede goals, they're going to score goals. It's just the way they play. But I feel like this year, the teams are now more adaptive to the way they play. A bit like Sheffield last year. Last year Sheffield came into Premier League, they introduced this new kind of system of overlapping centre-backs, however that works. But then in the second season, when they tried doing that again, the tactics just got countered and the other teams just knew how to play against them. Now I don't think this season for Leeds is going to be as severe as that, but I reckon it's still going to drop them down a few places than when they finished last year. Like I said, I think they finished 9th last year. Marco Bielsa's doing a great job there. In 11th, again, another team that might be a bit lower than you think I'm going to put them, but Everton. I think the departure of Carlo Ancelotti is going to hurt them a lot. I think he was kind of building something good. Maybe the first season wasn't great there, but he might have come back through in the second season, working with a bunch of lads that he hasn't worked before. But then in the second season, he obviously knows how to work everyone together and probably bring in some bigger names. But he's left. He's took that job at Real Madrid. He's like, oh, I'll take that. A bit more money, you know what I mean? A bit more players that I'd like to play with. Bada bing, bada boom. I think especially for the first season, again, the manager at Everton, Rafa Benitez, I think he might struggle a bit. Last job that he had in the Prem was Newcastle, and he was doing well there before he got sacked. But the Prem's a brutal place. Like, if you're not on it for every game of the season and you're not quite up to scratch with everyone else, you're going to get punished. This is why I think Everton might finish a bit lower. Now in 10th place, another shocker I think for you lot. But my reasoning for this, new manager, bringing in a load of new players. Because of this new manager, no one's played against him before. They don't know what his tactics are. So the first few run of games might go well, they might go bad again. Premier League pressure is completely different to any type of other pressure. But Crystal Palace with Patrick Vieira as manager. I was shocked when Patrick Vieira went to Palace as a manager. A manager for Palace could work out. Someone new, someone fresh. He's a manager that knows about the game. He's one of those players that he knows what's happening 3 steps ahead of what everyone else knows. Like I said, this could be hit, this could be missed. It's one of those ones, but I think they could potentially push further than what they did last season and the previous season before. Lost a bit of experience in Gary Cahill, Andrew Townsend, on to 9th place. We've gone with West Ham here. I don't think they're going to have as good as a season they did last year with the added pressure of the Europa League. And along with that, again, they haven't made many improvements to the squad. And they've lost a big player in Jesse Lingard. Losing Lingard and not pursuing him is really going to hurt them. Again, with the added pressure of the Europa League as well and kind of more games being crammed into the season. I think they could potentially fold under some of that pressure and drop down a few places from when they finished last year. Into the top 8 and in 8th. I hate to say it, but Tottenham Hotspur. At the time of recording, Harry Kane hasn't left, so I'm not taking this into consideration. I'm still taking this into consideration that Harry Kane is there. But new manager, someone who is adept to the Premier League, but no, I just don't think Spurs have that type of play style that Nuno wants this year. I think it's going to take them a while to get into it. Maybe the second and third season, Nuno might turn out to be a better manager for them. They've lost a couple big players as well. Danny Rose, Toby Alderweireld, Eric Lamela, just to name a few. And they've lost a lot, by the way. And they've only brought in a few so far. brought in Romero, who's replacing Alderweireld. I don't think replacement's going to be like for like. I think Toby was a massive part of Tottenham. He's been there for ages. Like, he was kind of like a leader. But say Harry Kane does leave, and I'm not basing my prediction of him leaving from that, they don't have a backup striker really. No one, if Harry Kane gets injured, they don't have a backup striker. And I think they're very limited in their attacking options. Their midfield's not very creative. They got Ndombele. I don't think their defence is the strongest. Their best bet is scoring goals, but they're going to leak goals as well. Harry Kane, Son, Bergwijn, Lucas up top. They've got creativity coming from left, right and centre, and they've got goals coming from left, right and centre. I think that's where the limit is for their quality in the squad. There's not really much coming on from the wing back. Like I said, nothing coming through the middle, and I think they're going to have one of the worst seasons they've had. Now, pushing up into the position that is now known as a European Conference spot, I guess. I don't know what you're calling it, but that's what it is. We're going with Aston Villa. They've made some good signings, and they've got 100 mil from Jack Grealish. They've got Buendia, they've got Ashley Young on a free from Inter Milan, which is a great signing. Leon Bailey, he could be a great player. He plays in the Bundesliga, so again, another player that I haven't watched a lot. And also Danny Ings. What a signing Danny Ings could be for Aston Villa. A goal scorer. I think that's what they've been missing. They had Jack Grealish. He shouldn't be the one that everyone's relying on scoring. Ollie Watkins, he's alright, but he's not an out-and-out goal scorer like Danny Ings. Danny Ings is going to get you potentially 20 goals a season. I don't think Watkins will. But obviously Jack Grealish is a massive loss to them. Kind of the reason I can't see them going any further than 7th place. Now moving on to the top 6 and the European spots. In 6th place, again a team that you might think is a bit lower than what you'd think, but Leicester City. So for me, 6th and 5th, they could swap round. And in 5th I have Arsenal. I'm just going to put that there so it's easier to describe. So it's not like Leicester and Arsenal don't have that potential quality to get into the top 4. Maybe Arsenal not as much as Leicester, but it's just that the top 4 I think they're just miles better than everyone else at the moment. The reason I go for Arsenal in 5th, right? They had a dodgy season last year, but after Christmas, they had a great run. I think they had the 2nd most points after Christmas out of everyone. I think Arteta's coming into this job. He's bringing them some good players. Ben White's a great signing at centre back. That's kind of a position they've been struggling for a while. I know they've had David Luiz, but he's a liability. I think Ben White could potentially strengthen up that defence.
It's turned over the line.
Now, I do think they need to sign an attacking player. Maybe Tammy Abraham. Again, at the time of recording this, like, he's in talks with Arsenal potentially. He'll be a great signing for Arsenal. That's what he needs. I think Aubameyang, if he finds his form, unreal. He can be unreal, but he's just not there at the moment, is he? Again, with Lacazette as well, he's been great for Arsenal, but I think it's time to let him go, get a bit of money for him, and bring in a replacement striker. Especially as they don't have the added pressure of the European games. I think them finishing 8th, I think it was 8th last season, and them not getting Europe has helped them massively. It's been like a blessing in disguise for this season. It's going to help them massively because they're going to have a bit more time to recover for each Premier League game and potentially push on into this 5th spot that I've put them down in. Now, moving on to the top 4. In 4th place, but we have gone for Liverpool 4. Now, the reason I've put them 4th and not in the top 3 is because I don't think they've made any real improvements to the squad. I mean, they've lost Wijnaldum, for example, but they've only brought in a centre-back, Konate, which is what they needed. I think they needed a second centre-back to play beside Van Dijk, and Van Dijk coming back is huge for Liverpool. I mean, it's so clear to see that they play better with him playing centre-back. He is a leader. He makes the whole team play better, and you saw that last season. If you lose one player, usually it doesn't make a whole difference to the team. You might concede a few more goals, but the dynamic in general with Van Dijk in that squad makes the team so much better. One of those players that makes everyone else play better. The loss of Robertson at the start of the season might not be too vital, but like I said, they've only brought in one signing. I don't think that's good enough to be competing for the title. Now, in 3rd, personally, I think any 3 of these teams could win the league. Throughout me writing down these predictions and putting teams in the positions that I put them in, these 3 have been changing around constantly. But in 3rd place, it's going to shock everyone, I think, Man City. I know, take it in. Shout at me, put it in the comments, whatever, disagree with me, whatever. This is my opinion. Man City coming 3rd. And the reason I think this is, right, if you remember back to the last season, they had an awful start to the season. I think they were down in 11th at one point, and then they went on a crazy, like, 15-20 game run unbeaten or something like that. Unreal streak. And they deservedly won the title last year. No one else was as good. Fair enough to them. But this year, they've lost Aguero. I know he didn't have a massive impact in their campaign last year, but he's a big player to lose. And they haven't made massive improvements. They brought in Jack Grealish. Okay, you could say it's not a like-for-like swap, but it's an attacking swap for an attacking swap. But they haven't made any improvements anywhere else. I'm not saying they need to, and they've got the depth, but potentially one or two big more signings, like Harry Kane for instance. If they get Harry Kane, I think they win the Premier League. Or if they get a massive striker like that, they're going to win the Premier League, I think. And now we have second and first place. These two, because I put City third, I'm kind of put them there. These two, again, even at this moment of saying it, I don't know who I'm going to put where. Oh, this is so difficult. Right, I've made my decision. In second place, we got Man United, so the champions are Chelsea. I'll get onto them in a minute, but we're starting with Man United. Now, the reason I don't think they're going to win the title this year is because I think they're missing that defensive midfielder that can break lines. Like an N'Golo Kante who can sit next to Pogba, and Pogba's got that free license to roam. We've got Fred. Okay, he wins the ball, he works hard, but he hasn't got that creativity. He can't get that ball into the striker where the striker can turn, play it off to the wingers or whatever. We haven't got that defensive midfielder that can play and break the line that I think we need to win a title. Now, we brought in Sancho, we brought in Varane, two big positions that we needed improvements in, and we needed a player that can play throughout the whole season without chopping and changing. Varane's not official yet, but he's basically all the way there. I think he's just finishing off his medical now. And like I said, this could just be me being a hopeful Man United fan, but I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible, which is one of the reasons why I put Chelsea as the champions of the Premier League this season. Now, I think there's multiple reasons for this, but one of the main ones is Lukaku. I think signing Romelu Lukaku is a massive improvement from last season, because I think that was one of the biggest reasons they didn't push on to be title contenders in the Premier League, because they were lacking that goal scoring ability. They created the chances. Defensively, they're sound. Thomas Tuchel's done a great job for that defensive line of Chelsea. Watching them play, and when he first came in, it wasn't very exciting or enjoyable, but he was getting that defence sorted to then fix the rest of the team. Because I think one of the main foundations for a team, a title winning team, is a good defence. You need a good defence. You can't be leaking goals at times where it's a tight game. You need to be able to have that back four, back three, back five, whatever they want to play. But you need to be able to have that defence that gets you through a game without conceding. And then the strikers can worry about what they're doing. But they didn't have that striker. And now they've got Lukaku, again, who I've predicted to be the top goal scorer of the Premier League. I just think that's... And I just think they've got a great dynamic and squad dynamic and chemistry to win the Premier League. So that is my Premier League predictions. Let me know what you think. If you disagree with me, agree with me, think I'm completely stupid, think I'm quite a good fella and quite a genius, we'll see at the end of the season. We'll probably do a reaction video at the end of the season just to see how well I did. I'm probably going to be quite far off, but let me know what you think. Let me know any wild predictions that you've got. I hope you did enjoy this type of video. Like I said, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. Let me know any suggestions you have in the comments, and as always, I'll catch you in a bit.